People walk around every day, heads down, stuck in their little routines, like wind-up toys ticking toward nothing. They don't really look at each other, don't really listen, and if you tell them something good is coming, they laugh. Because hope, that's become a punchline. But today's different. You didn't stumble here by accident. No, something wanted you here. Something bigger. Something that sees what you've been through, the silence, the struggle, the nights you stared at the ceiling wondering if anyone's out there. The thing about people is they don't flinch anymore. Not at the stuff that should make them stop and think. You could scream in the middle of the street, bleeding your soul out, and they'd just keep walking. Eyes down, headphones in, scrolling through their own little pocket tragedies. They're not heartless, no, just numb. Like the volume of the world's pain got turned up so high for so long they had to mute it just to breathe. Every day it's the same routine: wake up, check the phone, bad news, worse news, maybe something ridiculous in between to laugh at for a second, then back to the grind. There's no space for surprise anymore, no wonder, no awe, just survival. People aren't living. They're coping, and they're good at it. Really good. So good they don't even realize they're doing it. Smile for the camera, nod in the meeting, cry in the shower, repeat. And you throw something at them, anything that sounds like light, like hope, like maybe, just maybe things could get better. Aha. They look at you like you're the crazy one. Because we've trained ourselves to expect the worst, haven't we? That's the punchline. People feel safer assuming everything will fall apart. That way they don't get disappointed. That way, when life hits them with another gut punch, they can say, see, told you so. There's comfort in cynicism. It's predictable. It doesn't let you down. Hope, on the other hand, oh, that's risky business, that's dangerous. Hope asks you to believe. Hope says, maybe this time it'll be different. But people have been burned too many times, trusted too many lies, sat too long in empty rooms waiting for something that never showed up. So now they treat good news like it's a setup, like someone's playing a joke, like behind every smile there's a knife, behind every promise a trick. You tell them God has something for them, and they laugh not because it's funny but because it hurts, and laughing's the only way to keep from screaming. It's wild, isn't it, that we've gotten so used to pain, we'd rather live in it than risk stepping into something better. Misery is familiar, predictable, you can set your watch to it. But healing, that's a foreign language. Kindness, that's suspicious. You tell someone they're worthy, they think you're trying to sell them something. You offer them love, they check the small print. This world, it didn't just kill dreams, it made people feel stupid for having them. Like if you're still hoping for something good, you're naive. If you still believe in purpose, you must be delusional. So they tuck those dreams away, deep, where no one can see them, where they can pretend they never existed. Because if you kill your own hope first, the world can't take it from you. But somewhere in the middle of all that noise, all that armor, all that numbness, something still beats. Something still aches. People want to believe. They just don't know how anymore. They don't know where to look. And even if they find it, they don't trust it. Because nothing real ever came without a cache hatch, right? So they keep walking, keep scrolling, keep pretending. Because facing the truth that maybe there is something more, something better, something divine trying to reach them, that truth. It's too raw, too big, too dangerous, because if it's real, then they have to feel again. They have to wake up. And that's scarier than any nightmare. Isn't it strange how people react when you tell them something good? Not bad they're used to. Bad is normal. Bad is routine. But good, genuine, honest to God good, that freaks them out, makes them nervous, like they're being watched, like someone's setting them up for the fall. You whisper, there's good news, and their first instinct isn't joy. It's suspicion. Because in this world, good news has become the rarest thing of all. Not because it doesn't exist, no. It's out there, still fighting. still crawling its way through the wreckage. But people, they don't believe in it anymore. They hear those words, something good is coming, and they flinch. Like it's a trap. Like you're dangling hope on a string just to yank it away. They've been trained that way. Conditioned like rats in a lab. Ring the bell, give them pain, over and over. So now even when the bell rings with a blessing, they brace for the hit. You tell someone God has good news and they tilt their head, give you that half smile, tight-lipped, eyes hollow. They've heard that before. They've seen it written on signs outside buildings that turn them away. Heard it from voices that promised love but only offered shame. So when you say it again, even if it's real this time, even if the news is pure and burning with light, they can't take it at face value. They're looking for the wires, waiting for the catch, because nothing this world gives is free, right? People used to believe in messages from above. They'd look up at the sky and think, maybe something's watching. Maybe something cares. Now they look at the sky and think, rain again. They stopped looking for signs. Or maybe they just stopped recognizing them. Because it's hard to see a miracle when your eyes are covered in scars. When you've heard good things are coming 100 times, and every time it was a lie wrapped in sugar, you stop opening the package. Good news has become the new fairy tale. The new bedtime story we don't tell anymore. It makes people uncomfortable. It doesn't match the program. The world feeds you darkness, serves it up like breakfast. Pain is the meal. Fear is the dessert. So when someone tries to offer something different, something better, they get laughed at. Or worse, ignored. Because the idea that something could actually shift, that something higher could break through the noise and reach you with something real, that's too big. Too bright. It burns to look at. So they call it fake, they call it foolish, they say grow up, be realistic, realistic. That's the new word for hopeless. That's what they say when they've given up but don't want to admit it. When they've let go of the possibility that anything divine might still speak into the mess. You see it in their eyes, the ones who used to believe, used to pray, used to hope. Now they sit in silence, scrolling past every whisper of light, like it's just another ad. And yet the news keeps coming. The whisper doesn't stop, even when no one listens. Even when the inbox is full of noise and trash and emptiness. The good news still slips in, quiet, patient, waiting, but people scroll past it. Because it doesn't scream, it doesn't demand, it doesn't sell you anything. And that alone makes it suspicious. See, in a world where everything has a price, good news with no strings, that's terrifying. Because if it's real, if it's actually meant for you, then you might have to admit you were wrong. You might have to believe again. And believing means risking. And risking means maybe falling again. So they shut the door before it even opens. They delete the message before reading it. Not because they don't want it to be true, but because part of them fears that it is. They wear their skepticism like armor. Not because they're cold, but because they've been cut too many times. And now, anything warm feels like fire. So when someone says, open this, God has good news for you, they don't smile. They don't lean in. They pull back. Because they've been told that before. And the last time they believed it, it hurt. You know what's become the new normal? Pain. Not just the big loud kind, the kind that punches through walls and shatters windows. No, I'm talking about the quiet kind. The one that sits behind your eyes when you're smiling. The ache in your chest when someone asks you okay and you nod, because what else are you supposed to say? That everything feels heavy. That getting out of bed feels like dragging chains behind you. Nah, people don't say that, they just keep moving. Because somewhere along the line, pain became the price of being alive. Isn't that funny? Not half funny, more like tragic clown funny. People walk around every day with bruises no one can see, wearing masks, no one. They laugh at memes, post filtered photos, and then cry behind locked bathroom doors. And that's just life, that's the program if you're hurting. The world doesn't want your mess. It wants your productivity, your smile, your silence, joy. That's the alien now, Joy is what people look at like it's a museum piece. Something old, fragile, something they used to touch when they were kids before the world showed them the bill. You ever see someone try to be genuinely happy these days? It's almost awkward. People don't know what to do with it. Like someone walked into a funeral wearing a birthday hat. It doesn't fit. It makes people uncomfortable. Because deep down, everyone's waiting for the punchline, for the crash, for the bad news to come and steal it all away. That's the setup now. Misery is familiar. Misery is easy to talk about. Misery builds communities. Misery gets likes. But joy, real joy, the kind that lights your soul up from the inside out, that's suspicious. That's unrealistic. You tell someone it's okay to be happy and they look at you like you're trying to sell snake oil. Because they've been taught that happiness has a shelf life. That if you feel good today, better brace for tomorrow. And that's not their fault. Not really. The world hands out trauma like candy. Broken homes, broken hearts, broken promises, it's all part of the welcome package. People grow up fast, learn that nothing stays, that no one sticks around. That every good thing comes with fine print. So of course they stop trusting joy. Of course they stop chasing light. When all you've ever known is chaos, peace feels like the lie. When all you've ever heard is noise, silence feels like danger. You want to know how deep it goes. People sabotage their own happiness before it can be taken from them. That's the trick. Beat life to the punch. Don't get too excited. Don't get too close. Don't feel too much. Because feelings are the gateway to disappointment. Better to numb, better to stay cold. At least that way you're in control. And that numbness, it spreads, slowly, quietly. You stop laughing the way you used to. You stop crying, even when you want to. You stop dreaming, because dreams are dangerous, and you start to forget. Forget what it felt like to wake up and actually want to. Forget what it meant to feel alive, because now you're just existing, going through the motions, breathing but not really living. And the saddest part, most people think that's just how it is. They don't even question it. They don't even wonder if maybe, just maybe, it could be different. Because the world convinced them that suffering is noble, that being broken is brave, that if you're not in pain, you're not paying attention. But what if that's the real lie? What if joy wasn't the weakness? What if it was the rebellion? See, when people forget how to feel joy, when they treat happiness like a stranger, they lose something sacred. They stop hearing the music under the noise. They stop noticing the little miracles. A sunrise, a child's laugh, that one moment in the middle of the chaos where everything feels still. It's all still there, but they miss it because they're too busy preparing for the next hit. Pain became the baseline, the home setting. And anything outside of that, too risky, too foreign. So people stay where it hurts, because at least it's familiar. At least they know how to survive it. They forget that there was ever a time when they didn't feel like this, when joy was natural, when hope wasn't just a punchline, when the world still felt like it had something to offer. You ever notice how the loudest voices are always selling something? Shouting over each other, flashing lights, headlines, noise, constant, endless noise. Everybody wants your attention, your clicks, your money, your soul, if the price is right. And somewhere in all that chaos, tucked in between the shouting and the static, there's a voice that doesn't yell, doesn't beg, doesn't market. It whispers, and people miss it every day, because it doesn't come dressed like a show. It doesn't kick the door down, it taps. Just once. But people don't hear whispers anymore. They're not tuned for that. They're tuned for drama, scandal, disaster. If it doesn't make their heart race or their blood boil, they scroll past it. But here's the funny part, real messages, the ones that actually matter, the ones that could change everything, they don't scream. They come quiet, gentle, sometimes almost annoying in how simple they are. Like a knock on a door you forgot existed. And sometimes those whispers, they don't even sound like words. They feel like moments. That pause in your chest when you think you heard something but no one's there. That one sentence someone says that hits a little too hard. That dream you had that didn't make sense but felt like something bigger was speaking underneath it. And you shake it off, laugh it off, because what else do you do? The world taught you that if it's not loud, it's not real. But maybe the real stuff, the sacred stuff, never needed to be loud in the first place. See, people expect divine messages to be grand. Fireworks, lightning bolts, chwars and thunder and voices from the sky. But that's just the movies talking. Real life, real truth. It shows up in a whisper when no one's watching. It shows up in silence when everything else has gone dark. And most of the time it looks like nothing, just a thought, a nudge, a strange feeling that something's trying to reach you. But people ignore it, not because they don't want to hear it, but because they don't trust quiet anymore. Quiet makes them uncomfortable, makes them feel like they're missing something when really it's the only place they're on. And that's the joke, isn't it? The truth shows up soft, but they only listen to the screamers, the salesmen, the panic. So the whisper waits, and waits, and waits. Sometimes it shows up through someone's voice, a person you barely know saying something that cuts through all the armor you've built. A stranger's kindness that makes you want to cry for reasons you can't explain. A line in a book that feels like it was written just for you. Coincidence, maybe. But funny how those little coincidences show up when you're about to break, when you're about to give up, when you're hanging by a thread and suddenly tap, tap, there it is. Subtle, gentle, real. But again, it's too quiet, and we're too busy, too tired, too angry, too distracted, looking for lightning wind. What we really need is to learn how to listen to rain, because that's how it works. The divine doesn't need volume, it needs space. It doesn't force its way in. It waits to be invited. And most people never even leave the door cracked. They think if God or hope or whatever's out there really wanted to say something, it would be obvious. Loud, dramatic, but maybe it is obvious, just not in the way they want it to be. Maybe the message isn't in the explosion, they've had enough of those. Maybe it's in the stillness afterward. Maybe the reason they don't hear it is because they're expecting a show, when what they're being given is a secret. And let's be honest, secrets are sacred. They're not handed out to everyone. They're whispered, carefully, intentionally, to the ones willing to stop, to pay attention, to listen between the lines. But that kind of listening, it's rare. Most people are afraid of silence, afraid of what they might hear, or worse, what they might not. So the whisper keeps knocking, not with fear, not with force, but with patience, because it knows something most people have forgotten, that the biggest truths don't need to shout. They just need you to stop running long enough to hear them. Funny how people think chance is in charge. Like the universe is some big broken vending machine, punch a few buttons, maybe you get lucky, maybe it eats your last dollar and stares at you blank. That's how they walk through life. Coincidence. Accident. Luck. Bad timing. Wrong place, wrong face, wrong everything. But what if that's just the lie they tell themselves to avoid facing the truth? The real truth that maybe, just maybe, something bigger wanted them to see this. Right now, at this exact second. People scroll through oceans of garbage every day. Ads, lies, noise, chaos. Endless noise. You know how much trash you have to sift through to find something real, and yet here you are. Here this is. That's not nothing. That's not random. That's precision. Divine, quiet, eerie precision. Like a hand reaching out through all the mess and saying, hey, yeah, you, not shouting, just placing it there, right when you needed it, right when you were about to slip into that same dark thought you told no one about, right when you started thinking maybe there was no point. Most people don't believe in timing anymore. They think everything's late, or early, or just missed the mark. But what if this isn't late? What if it's right on time? What if it didn't show up until now because you weren't ready? Because the version of you from last week would have laughed it off. The version from last year would have deleted it, blocked it, buried it. But this version, the one that's cracked just enough to listen, just enough to feel something, this is the one who can actually hear it. You ever think about how strange it is that certain messages hit differently at certain times? Like a song you heard 100 times suddenly brings you to tears. A sentence someone says suddenly feels like a map. That's not just your brain catching up. That's alignment. That's something above the noise, above the scripts and routines, reaching down and clicking into place at the exact moment in T. Most likely when emotionally to finally get it. And still people call it luck. Coincidence. Coincidence is the name they give to things they're too afraid to see as sacred. It's easy to believe in chaos. It gives you an excuse. If everything's random, then nothing matters. Then you don't have to change. Don't have to hope. Don't have to listen. But the second you admit there might be order in the madness, that maybe something meant for you to see this, it changes everything. Because then, you've got a choice. And people hate choices. They want autopilot. They want to sleepwalk. But what happens when life taps you on the shoulder and says, no more dreams? Time to wake up. Most won't believe it. They'll think, nah, this is just another piece of internet fluff. Just another post in the sea. But deep down they feel it. Something's different. Something tugged at the inside of their chest. Something told them not to scroll away. And that feeling, that's the thread. The thread that leads back to the part of them that still believes, still wants to believe. Even after everything, even after the disappointments, the betrayals, the empty promises. That little flicker inside saying, maybe, just maybe, this one's not like the rest. You didn't find this, it found you. And not because you're perfect. Not because you earned it. But because something saw past the mess, past the mask, and said now, and there's power in that. Because if something out there still sees you, still chooses to reach you, even when you've stopped reaching for yourself, that's not random. That's not noise, that's personal, that's surgical, that's divine. But people get scared when things get personal. They'd rather believe the world is just spinning for no reason than accept that something might be spinning it for them. Because if that's true, if this moment means something, then they've got to ask why. They've got to face the fact that the universe or God or whatever name they whisper into the dark might actually be listening. And if it's listening, maybe it's also speaking.